All right, hello. So, it's jumping on a few minutes late. My phone updated the other night, and there have been multiple consequences. Some things I like the way that things have been updated, but when I went to go live just now, that was something else that was different, and it was assuming that I wanted to make a reel, and I couldn't figure out how to get out of the reel. I kept backing out and hitting the make a post, clicking on make a post, and it was wanting me to make a reel. And finally saw a new button that I'm supposed to hit to go back to all the options that I have other than a reel. Weirdness. Don't know why it was trying to corral me into making a reel first. But we're here, and today we're talking about starting with what you love and adding to it. And specifically, we're talking about fitness and making those positive life changes. When you're doing that, it's a monumental thing because you're not just adding new habits, you are becoming a different person. You're becoming someone you haven't been before, or someone that you haven't been in a while. And so that process of positive life change is quite monumental, more than we often give it credit for, because it is a process of becoming someone you've never been before. Hey, Kristen, glad you're here. So what I have always done with my clients, and what I've encouraged them to do, is think about what are your goals, what are you passionate about, and what's your favorite thing. And we'll start building a program around that. So yesterday, long time ago, I asked, what's your favorite kind of fitness activity? So that was number one. Number two, what makes it your favorite? And three, do you get to participate in it as often as you like? So, love the answers. So as a general rule, start with your favorite or whatever you're most passionate about, and then add from there to meet your goals. Thanks, Kristen. So, so the reason I say start with your favorite or what you're most passionate about, for me, I was most passionate about trying to get stronger, trying to get more energy, because those were the two things that were stubbornly lacking, that others, including my younger brother, seemed to get automatically when they went through puberty. And I was still skin and bone and not able to get stronger. Every time I worked out consistently, I got weaker and smaller. So it seemed like this impossible thing. So strength training wasn't necessarily my favorite. It became my favorite for sure, but it was really challenging. It was really miserable at first, because everything was so hard, and I wasn't used to the joy of getting tired, getting fatigued, getting sore yet. It was just something I wanted to get results from. So it was not necessarily my favorite, but it was what I was most passionate about. Plus, I wasn't even thinking in those terms at the time, because in our understanding of spiritual things in the home I grew up in, anything you enjoyed was not what God wanted for you. He wanted you to be miserable so you could rely on him. So that was, I wouldn't even like have thought about like what was my favorite. I probably wouldn't have done it if I thought it was my favorite. So you can start with what is your favorite or what you're most passionate about, what you're most determined to move toward, and then add for your fitness goals. So sometimes your favorite activity is not the main thing that's going to get you to your goals. So there is that as well. So if there is a difference between your main favorite activity, it doesn't mean you don't do it, but you may have to add a couple of things in order to effectively move toward your goal. So we can get to that along the way. The most important thing is to start a habit of self-care in the fitness arena. And a lot of you are already in the habit of doing some physical stuff, some fitness stuff. And some of you have been, some of you are still trying to get there. So wherever you're at, make this as applicable as possible. So if you're needing to update or increase your fitness, still start with your favorite thing. What's the easiest to move toward? What are you most passionate about? If you haven't been doing anything in a while and you want to get back to it, and it seems like you should be able to get back to it so easily because you've done it before, still start with your favorite thing, or what's the easiest thing to move toward, or what are you most passionate about? And then if you've never done anything, then same. Start with your favorite, start with what you're most passionate about. Build a little habit. If you need to make it smaller, like we talked about last week. But keep moving toward your goal. And then you can add to it as you're able to, as you feel like you have the resources to do that. So, so Monica says, I enjoy hiking with friends. That's awesome. I think, she didn't say whether she gets to do that very often, but if you do, Monica, that is amazing. That's awesome. Build something weekly around that. And if you aren't able to do it with friends, do it by yourself, but keep hiking as often as you can get your friends to join you. That's fantastic. So hiking with friends is a perfect activity to build your fitness around, and have different scales of that. Have it be scalable, where you can have your ideal place. Maybe that takes a little bit of drive time. Maybe it's a bigger chunk out of your day. Sometimes it's hard to get to it. So have some options that are a little bit closer, a little bit easier. And then that way you can get to it more often. Even if worst case, you have some friends who can meet you at a track, a high school track, and you can walk around it together. Obviously, if that doesn't check all the boxes of what you love, then don't resign to that being the only thing. Definitely, prioritize the full experience that you crave. But don't feel bad about having to simplify it if and when you need to as well. So then Susie says, I have to pick just one? No! Dance and swimming are favorites. Lifting I enjoy. And surfing, bodyboarding, it may be my new love. So that's awesome. And I know you in real life, Susie, so I know that you are doing all these things, that they are in your schedule already. So you're not trying to get them in, but they are in. And so just for reference for anyone else who may be overwhelmed by all of that, if you already have that in your routine, if you've built up to that, then yeah, it's easier to keep the momentum going. If you haven't, you may have to start with one thing add another thing and another thing. And then eventually you may have a schedule like Susie that is full of things that she loves, and she's able to keep it going because she's added one thing at a time, to the point where she is here doing all these favorite things, which is awesome. So so just like for me myself, there was no way the first 2 years that I was doing fitness I could have done the workouts that I can do now. But I got there eventually. And so it's all the same process. And it's not necessarily the goal, unless you want it to be, but it's this same process of adding one thing at a time that's a new favorite thing, and you make it a priority, and you fit in your schedule, prioritize it, and it's part of your life now. So awesome. So those were Susie's favorite things. So dance, swimming, favorites. She enjoys lifting, and surfing, bodyboarding is a new love. So then question number 2 is, what makes it your favorite? So here's the explanation. Dance and dance-based fitness I love because they are full body activities, and dance taps into creativity and emotional expression. Swimming is a favorite because it's also full body and can be both a workout and very zen because of the weightlessness and sensory isolation in water. Plus you can do it in a pool or have open water adventures. Lifting I mentioned because it makes me strong, makes me feel like an Amazon, and enables other activities. So I love that distinction. So Susie says that swimming is her favorite because it's full body exercise, it's very zen, weightlessness, so there's the sensory isolation, so there's some feeling states. The dance taps into creativity and emotional expression. The lifting, it makes her strong. So she may not necessarily enjoy, you can verify this, Susie, may not enjoy lifting as an activity, but loves the results of the activity, which is feeling strong, feeling like an Amazon, and allowing her to do other activities. Surfing is new, presents new challenges, involves water, playing in the ocean, and some childlike fun. So lots of good points there for the surfing. So real time, Susie says, and really that's how I got here. Added and made friends and classes along the way. And those connections keep me motivated to go because it's both a workout and a social time. So awesome. Yeah. Kind of the extroverted side of you, loving to connect with other people, being around other people's energy and all that. So then she says, and now my fitness challenge is not overdoing it. Yeah, for sure. So when you pack your schedule that full of physical exertion, the thing you have to start watching is that overuse injury potential, because you make certain muscles, certain joints, certain tendons extremely fatigued, and then you do one more thing on top of it, and it hasn't had enough recovery time. So yeah, recovery time would be the thing to watch for. Recovery activities is the thing to watch for. So Susie also says, lifting is like eating your veggies. I do like veggies, but I might like other things more. Plus I do lifting classes with other folks and those make it fun. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, lifting has such far-reaching benefits for every aspect of health and lifetime. So longevity and metabolism and joint integrity, nutrient density of bone and muscle. So that's awesome. Plus, in classes, you can support, cheer, and motivate each other. That's awesome. So, the social aspect is huge for Susie, and so being able to participate in all of these classes with other people really feeds her soul. So that is another aspect that is important to prioritize as you move forward. And then number 3, I asked the question. So first, what's your favorite activity? Number 2, what makes it your favorite activity? Number 3, how often do you get to do it? Do you get to do it as often as you like? And so Susie says, yes on dance, albeit not all the styles I would like. I wish I could do more jazz. Wish I could teach. Wish I didn't have to worry about overuse injuries. Yes on lifting. So enough, you get to do it as often as you like on the lifting. On the swimming, I wish I could swim every week, twice a week. And I really want to swim Crater Lake. That would be hard to get into your weekly schedule. But when you do swim Crater Lake, take pictures and share it with us because we want to see that. Surfing, I got in a lot this summer, but I had to rent gear. I finished getting my own gear, so next year I will be all up in the waves as much as possible. So that's really cool. So yeah, and sometimes there's seasons to things. Some of these activities are seasonal, whether that's skiing or surfing. Although some of the coworkers I have at the lodge are surfing every day of the year, no matter how cold it gets. So, but yeah, sometimes it's more realistic to do things at certain times of the year. So, and that's totally okay, and actually really good for the body to rotate through some of that emphasis and switch off of certain activities just for recovery and all that. Susie says, yep, it really is about this. Find what feeds your soul and follow that feeling. It's a great motivator. Yep, totally. So yeah, so that is awesome. Great example of a social exerciser, someone who likes classes, who likes the challenge of learning new things, likes to get enjoyment from things. Sounds sort of like you should retire as early as possible so you can start teaching fitness and teaching dance and doing all the things that you enjoy. But you also maybe need to take up knitting or something where you can actually sit for a bit and work some rest in there as well. So yeah, it's awesome stuff. Glad you get to do all those activities that you enjoy doing. So then Christy says her favorite activities are swimming and walking / hiking. What makes it her favorite is that she says, I can emotionally and mentally ground myself with nature at the same time. Water, especially, has always been particularly healing for me. That's really cool. And then to the question, do you get to do it as often as you like? Christy says, not at all. I'm so out of shape, I can't swim more than 2 to 5 laps without becoming so out of breath that I fear drowning. I've also become further sensitive to extreme outside temperatures and have trouble finding enough time to go out for hikes on days when the weather is nice. So that's super tough. All the empathy for you there. Lots of compassion on that situation. So, as we know, we want to keep the activities to the favorites. So Christy's favorites are swimming and walking, hiking. And then we want to keep it super simple, especially when you feel like you're out of shape enough that you can't do it the way that you want to do it, which totally makes sense. So how can we break it down into smaller pieces? How can we still include it in your life? And so maybe going to an actual hiking spot and trying to do a full hike would just be more discouraging than encouraging at the moment. So how might you do some hiking training throughout the day of the week? Remember last week we talked about that one specific study that looked at 3 10-minute sessions of walking is the same benefit as one 30-minute session. And so I would do something like hiking training, where if you can find some little 10-minute periods throughout the day where you're going to walk around the block or walk around the house even, or put on a backpack with some canned goods in it and walk around the house or whatever, like little bits of time, and tell your mind, tell your body that you are training for hiking. That will begin to make some shifts in your experience, in your reality, that will move you toward your goals. Another idea would be to go swimming, and you said you can't do more than 2 to 5 laps. So then I would start with 2 laps, and I don't know if you've got like super strict rules at the pool where you have to keep moving, but you know, whether you can pause and take a break, or you have to get out and sit on the deck for a minute or whatever. And then as you warm up, which is something that naturally happens, you're able to breathe more efficiently. Your body gets in the mode of delivering oxygen. Your muscles get in the mode of adapting for the exercise. Then you might be able to do 4 laps and take a break, and do that until you finish. So there is no shame. And I know that's way, way easier said than done, because for us, if you have experienced something in the past, like an ability, and you've lost that ability, it feels like it's gone forever. And there's so much embarrassment and shame and all of that. So the biggest thing may be like your own mind, your own mindset around it. And it's so important to be where you are, not be where you were, but be where you are, and know that your body will get healthier, get stronger. Studies have shown this over and over and over and over again, specifically with strength training, which is more adaptively intense than swimming or walking. And yet people into their 80s and 90s show incredible adaptation to regular strength training, like being able to improve multiple times their beginning strength. So never feel like it's too late, or you've gotten down too far, or gotten behind too far, or whatever. So so figure out how you can be where you are and still engage in the activities that you wish to move toward and become more efficient at again. So if you decide to start doing some of this, I want to hear about it. Let me know what your experience is. Have tons and tons and tons of grace and compassion for yourself. If there is an old voice from the past that is shaming you for where you're at, usually that is there's a power differential between whoever that voice belongs to and the you that received those words originally. So like little girl Christy. And then so become the observer of that dynamic, and then bring in your adult present self into that scenario, and do whatever you need to with that other voice. And stand up for your little Christy self, and be where you are, and be okay with that, and know that it will get better. You'll get fitter, you'll get faster, you'll get stronger. All the things that you desire will come with patient and grace-filled consistency. Susie comments on that, but 2 to 5 laps, that's not to be poo-pooed. That's like swimming a 100 or 200 yard meter event. And those can be intense events for swimmers on swim teams. So no shame in that. Yeah, thanks for calling that out, Susie. So Christy, whatever it is you need to adjust to at the moment to accommodate your fitness currently, however much less it is from what you used to do or what your records were, be okay with that. Trust your body to utilize the input, and trust your body to adapt to what you're asking of it. So Kristen says, Kyler, Susie will take up knitting when you do. Okay, all right. That's fine. I could probably make some more knitted things, but also don't be codependent on me and wait for me to do stuff before it's good for you too. So, so Nadi says, it's my counter push-ups and squats, of course. Haha, I'm kidding. I love to lose myself on a good nature walk, preferably by a body of water, and dancing to my own very embarrassing playlist of music, which is so very authentically me and is certainly a cathartic release to dance to. That's cool. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. I'm certainly thankful for this group and your leadership. Oh, and guess what? I'm a week into building my new habit after chunking down and figuring out my why. Yippee! That's so cool. Good job. So a good nature walk, preferably by a body of water, and also dancing to my very embarrassing playlist of music. That's awesome. So good nature walk and dancing, those are so good as core favorite activities to build around. I love that you mentioned your counter push-ups and squats, because adding a little bit of that in there is really beneficial for all of your health goals. So being able to continue to engage in nature walks and dancing and just being functional is facilitated by the push-ups and the squats. So great job on all of that, and I hope that you do take nature walks as often as you can, and you dance as often as you can. Those are good activities, because the nature walks might take some scheduling finesse around your work days and also the weather and whatever else might get in the way of that. But then the dance, you can fill in the other times with the dance party, because you can do that pretty much anywhere you want to. If it's really embarrassing, you can do it in your home, where you can literally dance like no one's watching. So so that's awesome. Good job. So no codependent knitting. Yes, indeed. Susie says, and there was a time with my swimming when I couldn't swim 75 yards continuously, 1.5 laps, because of my lung capacity and breathing. One of the things I did to build up my strength was to kick with a kickboard for some more laps, as it was easier to breathe. And I have a lot of drills I do on days when I'm not feeling my best in the pool or am injured today. I am here if you ever need or want to pick my brain about swimming. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. So Nadi, yeah, reach out to Susie if you have some, or Christy, reach out to Susie if you have some questions or just need some encouragement around the swimming. Kristen says, or knit like no one's watching. Yep, that's probably happening as well. So Andrea says, hiking, walking is my favorite. So definitely seeing a theme here. Love it. Andrea likes hikes with varying degrees of difficulty, so there's some challenges, but then also some flat and easy parts to save some energy for the return route. What makes it my favorite is that I get to appreciate all the details nature has to offer and appreciate the simple joys. Also reminds me of how small we are compared to the vastness of the world around us, which allows me to dilute some of my worldly stresses. That's such a good point. Balance of my mind and body. I don't carve out time for this type of hike as often as I'd like. The weather plays into that as well. But neighborhood walks are also nice. One of my newer fitness activities is to stay active while I have a movie or TV show on, so I don't feel like I'm just sitting there. I do squats, leg lifts, and then 8-pound hand weights going until fatigue. Maybe soon I can upgrade to more weight, but 8 pounds in each hand is working great for me so far to not feel overwhelmed. Good. And sometimes break the Thigh Master out. Another combo mind-body activity for me. Yeah, that's cool. So, yeah, being active, doing some strength training while watching a show is a great way to kind of incorporate multiple things at the same time. A little bit of multitasking where you're relaxing and working out at the same time. So that's really good. So yeah, Andrea, between the hiking and the walking, whether that's in the neighborhood or out in the mountains somewhere, and doing some strength activities with a movie or a TV show is fantastic. So great job. Those two are such a good combo and really will kind of meet most of your fitness goals if you can be consistent with that. So that's really good. So Susie says, Kristen, I might have some knitting and other craft gear that I need to make use of. Maybe we all should share some crafts, other fun stuff we do now and then. Yeah. So what like creative ideas are awesome too, because that's good for your health mentally, but also emotionally, and the creativity and life force focus is so good as well. So crafts definitely equal self-care. So good job. And that's something I need to do more often, and I keep thinking about it and not doing it. But I used to draw all the time when I was a kid. I used to cartoon all the time, and had notebooks and like a box full of scrap paper cartoons that I had drawn. And my dad had a talk with me when I was 11, told me to stop doing that because it wasn't real man's work and you could never get paid doing that. It wasn't responsible, it was play and all those things. So I've had a hard time ever since then getting back to drawing, and I actually want to, I would love to be a children's book illustrator, or make some greeting cards or things like that. So I need to do it again, and I'm always kind of in that mode of feeling like I've got too much real work to do, but so I guess I'm fulfilling my dad's. So it was a self-fulfilling prophecy from my dad, but yeah. Yeah, thanks, Susie. I will get to it when the time's right and when I'm ready. So it'll be good. So obviously, not everyone is going to enjoy strength training, and I think part of the problem is a marketing problem. When people talk about strength training, it's easy to think of the thanks, Kristen, drawing support. Appreciate that. When people think of strength training, they tend to think of really crazy weights, really intense workouts, and massively muscle-bound meatheads. But strength training, as I'm always saying, can be as simple as bodyweight squats and push-ups against the counter. And bent over row with a small weight, or a resistance band. But some of the reasons why I wish everyone in the entire world would do a little bit of strength training is because I believe it has more benefits than any other type of fitness. Because when you are challenging your bone and muscle capacity to fatigue, not to failure necessarily, but to fatigue, so there's different symptoms of fatigue. But when you challenge your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, and the bones they're attached to fatigue through regular strength training, you're increasing your metabolism again because your body is very efficient. It's not going to maintain lean tissue that it doesn't think it needs. So metabolism is always dropping not because of weight gain, but because of muscle loss. So metabolism, muscle, bone, and joint integrity. So the stronger you can keep your muscles, bones, and joints, the more you can trip and fall, you can run into things, you can get your arm smashed or whatever, and it's going to be more resilient or recover faster. So you're less likely to break something, tear something, and more likely to recover faster if you do. The bone and the muscle are the nutrient storehouses of the body. So no other tissue in the body has the capacity to store more nutrients than bone and muscle if they're dense. So those tissues increase in density without taking up more space for the most part. And then longevity. So most of the symptoms of aging are actually symptoms of frailty or bone and muscle loss. And so if you can keep strength training and build up the density of your bone and muscle, then you're going to have all these benefits into old age, which will allow you to participate in other activities that you want to do. So strength training is not going to have the most direct impact like on your cardiovascular ability, but most people as they get older, they're having a hard time getting off the toilet, getting off the couch. Those are squat movements. They have trouble getting off the floor because they have to push themselves with their arms. That's a push-up movement. If they fall down and someone gives them a hand, they still may not be able to pull themselves up even with someone offering a hand because that's a pull-up movement or a row movement. And so strength training is vital to the most basic movements and functions of being alive. And so the one thing that I would encourage people to do more than cardio, or sports or any other activity, swimming, is strength training with some kind of actual resistance, whether that's body weight or resistance band or dumbbells or machines or whatever. Like if I could get everybody to do one thing, that would be the thing, because it's going to have the most long-lasting positive effects out of anything. There's even a stark difference between the people that go into old age staying active and the people that go into old age strength training. So, yeah. So, Susie says, and isn't the ability to get up off the floor a measure for frailty or not as we age? Yeah. So, balance goes away when you lose strength, like all of these things. So, make sure that you stay strong. Even if it's not your favorite activity, definitely focus on your favorite activity. Work in some strength training in there. It doesn't have to be a lot. You can do 3 to 4 sets of each of those 3 exercises once a week and spread it out. So you've got different days focus on a different exercise of those 3, the push-ups, the squats, and the row. So that is my admonition as we finish up today. Thanks, Kristen. Glad it's helpful. So, if you want to carry on the conversation about your favorite activities and what you might do to prioritize them or make sure they stay in your weekly routine, let's keep talking about it. So comment below this video, comment on the previous post, or comment on the YouTube video, and we'll keep the conversation going. So, lots of love to you guys. Hope you have a great day. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the food tomorrow. Don't punish yourself. Just get back to your goals afterward, and have a good rest of your week. Talk to you guys soon.